Tom?
Tom.
Okay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Finding Voices. I'm Tom Wheeler.
I'm Alexander Kuzmenko and I stutter.
I'm Eugene Wasowski Gallagher.
Okay, and I'm Tim Fell. Thank you for asking me on this evening.
Right, so today we have a special guest, the chair of British Stammering Association. Thank you very much for coming. And we want to start simple. Please tell us about yourself and how you got into British Stammering Association all the way up into organization. I mean, your way.
Okay, well, I first heard of the BSA quite a long time ago, but never got involved until they had an open day quite near me in Lincoln. Can't remember how I heard about it, but I did, and so that struck a chord, and I went along to that. It was a really good day, lots of interesting speakers, met some really cool people, and they persuaded me at that time to think about becoming a trustee, which I duly did. I mean, that was about 4 years ago. And so I became a trustee and became quite involved in the work of the BSA, to the point when the past chairman, his term came to an end, I took over, and that's how I became chair. But I've stammered for all my life, but I've been able to deal with it in a number of ways, to a point where I sound pretty fluent most of the time.
Are you a covert stammerer, or if you are using any techniques, maybe?
I used to be a covert stammerer, really covert, and I used to avoid every situation I could that involved speaking. But since having learnt a number of speech modification techniques and having learnt relaxation therapy, those two elements have helped me to speak much more confidently and much more fluently. So I no longer feel that I have to be covert. I don't feel I'm a covert stammerer anymore. I've lost that. That's great. I feel that I can use the techniques that I've learnt in order to express myself in the way that I want. So yeah, no covert.
Yeah, I use techniques. I use prolongation, I use cancellation. I'm trying to maintain an eye contact, even if it's a camera, and deepen breath it on, and many others. Yeah, I do use techniques. How about you, Eugene?
If I don't do any of the deep and breathy stuff, I just can't speak.
Yeah,
The pain of my existence.
Yeah, I mean, I was exactly the same, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time to learn a new technique to speak.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that people who stammer maybe underestimate when they go to therapy or in any of its forms, that it's not a quick fix, and that it takes many years to learn different ways of speaking, but also different ways of looking at yourself and coming to terms with your strengths and your weaknesses, and it takes many years to get to a stage where you feel confident enough to be able to talk and express yourself how you want.
Would you say that your speech has improved with age, or has it kind of fluctuated? Because often I find that with my own speech, it goes through years of almost total fluency and then years of being in the so-called swamp, lots of Maguires like to call it. So has your speech been on like a constant upward progression, or has it been more of like a fluctuating pattern?
I guess it's been on a constant upward curve, really, with the odd glitch in between. So yeah, I mean, I think that you asked, does stammering improve with age? I think it does, but only because you're becoming more adept at using any technique that you may have learnt. I think that that's certainly my case. I can't speak for everyone, but without the techniques that I've learnt, I don't know whether my age alone would have enabled me to speak as I am now. Who knows? You can't say. But I think the point is that techniques do give you the confidence to go out and base your speech on those. Without any techniques or without any way of moving forward, it's very difficult to be able to take that leap. And I think that's the beauty of therapy in all its forms, techniques, that it gives you the tools to be able to work with your speech, and those tools give you the confidence that's so needed to make the transition between being completely imprisoned by your stammer and being able to shake free a bit and not allow it to dominate your life. So yeah, having techniques has been very, very important to me, and I would definitely recommend anyone who stammers, but believe it or not, quite a lot of people who stammer never go to speech therapy, have never had speech therapy.
Believe it. Oh yeah, we do believe
in
it.
any form.
Yeah.
And so I'm a great advocate of speech therapy. Either traditional forms of speech therapy, costal breathing. That I look on that as a therapy. Relaxation techniques. NLP, all these things are ways of being able to give you the confidence to be able to hang your speech on.
Is there any particular techniques for you which stuck more than others, which you've been able to continue using more
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, prolonged speech has been the main speech modification technique for me, but that wasn't enough on its own. The relaxation therapy was an essential element, so it's a bit of a dual act, if you like. The speech modification together with the relaxation techniques have worked for me, but I would add that it doesn't work for everyone, but that's just my experience.
I have a question. When you speak about relaxation techniques, are you talking about your body, or you're talking about relaxing your mind?
Body.
Oh.
Because I don't know, when I used to stammer, my body was full of tension. You know,
Yep.
My jaw would be locked, my shoulders would be up around my ears, my hands would be clenched, and I wasn't aware of the tension. But as soon as you become aware of it and are able to physically relax those muscles, then the tension does flow away. And for me, that's been a very important part of being able to speak more fluently. I went when I was 35 or something like that. I went to a hypnotist who taught me.
Go on.
He calls himself a hypnotist, but basically it's just teaching you how to relax.
Oh.
I remember there was no one more skeptical about it when I went along to him, but 10 weeks later, 10 sessions later, I learnt how to physically relax my body. And whenever I have to speak now, especially in public, I consciously go through a series of sort of mental thoughts to relax my body. And that, as I say, it's like opening the floodgates. The tension goes, and together with prolonged speech, it's been very successful for me.
Would you be able to share one or two of those thoughts which help you relax, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, the hypnotist basically teaches you a system of self-hypnosis. So and during his sessions, he would make you think of every muscle group in your body, starting from the head and going right down through the body to your toes, and think and consciously relax those muscle groups. And when you're in a state of complete relaxation, then he'll say to you something like, right, just picture yourself in the ideal spot where you can feel relaxed, as you are now. So you sort of you have a mental picture of yourself in some idyllic spot, maybe by a mountain stream or something like that. I don't know. And then he mentions the word calm, and that is the trigger for me, the word calm. And whenever I say the word calm to myself now, even 20 or 30 years later, my body instantly drops into that same form of relaxation as it was when I was in his sessions. And it's quite a remarkable effect. But if I'm, for example, giving a presentation somewhere, and I feel as nervous as anyone, but I only have to say the word calm to myself, my body automatically drops into a complete state of relaxation, and together with prolonged speech, it helps me through.
Nice, cool.
Interesting. This self-programming with trigger words. Yeah, I totally understand. And what you described as a hypnotic, that sounded to me like a guided meditation, which I love as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think that it's definitely a form of meditation, although I've never called it meditation myself. But to me, the tension is caused by the negative reactions that people who stammer get throughout their lives. That's bound to that's bound to create a tension in your body, and that's what it's helpful to get rid of. And I think the prolonged speech bit is different in that it is more answering the genetic, the anatomical problems that people who stammer have. So, I just feel that people who stammer are born with a predisposition to stammer.
Yes.
Yep.
Agreed.
And that our brains don't allow us to speak without difficulty. But that's because of our brain formation. Now, prolonged speech to me gets around that by learning a new way of speaking, and I think the brain is an amazing thing. It can learn new things every day. You just have to teach it. And so I think almost prolonged speech gets around the default speaking mechanism, and almost tricks the brain into thinking that into a different way of speaking. So to me, the prolonged speech is dealing with the genetic predisposition bit, and the relaxation therapy deals with the social anxiety bit, the psychological bit. So to me, there are two very clear parts of stammering. There's the anatomical issue and there's the psychological issue, and the two are part of the same problem, but maybe have to be dealt with in two different ways.
Okay, so Tom,
wondering whether you'd ever attempt any medicinal help or help for your speech, because what's quite popular, I think, in America is to use certain pills as a way of combating their stammer. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that topic. On medicinal cure for stammering.
I've never taken any pill. I'm naturally quite a fit person. I've never taken pills. I've never taken medicines, and I don't intend to start now. But I just feel that there's so much that's not known about chemical reactions within the brain and within the body. I would hate to take a pill to try and solve the problem. I think it to me it's too easy. You can't just take a pill and expect to talk fluently the next day. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, you might be able to block the nervous tension somehow, but you've got the anatomy to deal with as well, and I just can't see that a pill will do that. Nice idea, but I can't really see how it'll work, and there's certainly no evidence out there to suggest that it does. I don't know. I mean, perhaps I'm wrong. You tell me
right.
You tell me if you've seen any evidence that there's been a positive effect from taking pills.
No.
There isn't really much evidence at all to support it, really. But that said, this summer I have been intending on making a documentary in which I sample all the recommended stammering drugs. There is who aim that X, Y, and Z work for them. So I'm thinking of attempting to sort of, basically put the matter to bed, because most of this stuff is all just someone writing it on a forum. There is no real tangible evidence.
No.
Of them solving their speech, with this pill. So I'm hoping just to see for myself, because it's always at the back of my mind. What if this particular pill worked for me? Probably won't. So far, I've taken about 3 pills. So none of them have had any effect whatsoever, which is probably the case for the rest of them. But until I've sampled every last one, I will never be totally satisfied. But I think a personal thing. I personally think there is a slither of chance that it might work. Then again, others don't, and that's fair enough.
It's going to take you many years. It's going to take you many years then, because you can bet your bottom dollar that people will be coming up with pills every year to try out. I mean, there's no lack of demand from people who stammer for a new pill, I've no doubt commercial people will be attempting to persuade you that pills work, but I'd be very sceptical about it. I mean, I think that one of the things that I've found useful is just doing stuff. I know that the problem with people who stammer, they tend to avoid doing things, and that's the worst thing that you can do. You've got to do it. You've got to get out there and do what you don't like doing, and you find difficult to face. But once you do that thing that you most fear, you think, well, what was I worried about in the first place? And that gives a massive degree of confidence, which is invaluable in being able to use the techniques that you're learning as well to good effect. But that to me is better than any pill. Instead of taking a pill every day, just go and do something every day that you never thought you could. That would be the greatest pill.
Okay, Tim. Speaking about doing something really and physically, and doing something that no one can, tell us please about StamWalk.
Well, it seemed a good idea at the time, but now that it's only 2 days away, things are looking rather different. But I think the idea came when I was walking somewhere last Christmas, and I think that I felt there's a lot of great stuff going on out there with stammering awareness. You guys are taking advantage of podcasts and the internet to get the word out, which is great. I think there'll be much more use of that going forward in the future. There's a lot of stammering awareness going on with radio interviews and television shows and plays about stammering, and the Employers Stammering Network is a major thrust for stammering awareness, to try to get employers to understand what stammering is about, and to recognize that people who stammer have got skills and talents which they would be mad to ignore. And I think the message is getting through. But the point about StamWalk, I suppose, is there's nothing like getting out there, getting down and dirty on the road and talking to people as you go, because the thing about stammering is it affects people throughout the country in any job, in any way of life, any culture. There are people who stammer everywhere, and so wherever you go, from one end of the country to another, you're going to meet people who stammer. Some of those are not going to be reached by podcasts or by plays or by the ASN, and so it's an opportunity to take it to a different audience, if you like, and to create as much publicity as possible by doing that.
Yep. Yeah.
How are you, like, in all our minds, we sort of imagined you traveling down the country, literally stopping people on your way.
Yeah.
And
I am.
okay,
Okay.
superb. That's great.
Well,
That's
we 100% behind you. Yeah, do that. Speaking for myself, I'd love to do it, but I'm not ready yet. But I think it's an awesome idea. I think many people will follow you.
Well, I think that quite a few people have said they'll join me at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, which is great. Not many people are going to do the full day because I think they would maybe struggle a little bit to do the distance. Some will. There's some very keen walkers who have said that they'll join me, and some will. That'd be great. But what we're doing is organising events at the major towns that I pass through. So, for example, in Edinburgh, Inverness, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Leeds, Darlington, Manchester, Birmingham and Bristol, we've got events going on there that have been organised by the local support groups and by local speech and language therapists who have come together to get people together to come and have a talk. I'm quite happy to give a little talk with question and answer session, and then many people who stand want the opportunity to talk as well, and I'm sure some of the speech therapists will update us on their experiences and their research. So it's going to be very informal social evenings with and getting the press involved as far as we can, because it's by getting as much publicity as we can that we'll be able to spread most awareness, and that's the key. So we've got communications people who are helping us with communicating with local radio and local newspapers so that they know what's going on, and so we've given them every opportunity to come and support us and see what's going on.
Yeah, and you
I don't guarantee to do it yet, you know. I mean,
yeah, and can we come on your London part of joining? I'll join you for half a day probably.
Yeah.
Maybe we will,
well,
yeah, and we in. Yeah,
Man.
we will talk to people, and you can tell us what to say, and we'll say it exactly. Yeah.
well, the problem is when the route doesn't come through London, unfortunately.
We can come to you.
Because,
Mhm.
well, that would be great. The nearest to London will probably be Birmingham or Bristol. So you know, it's not very close. But
We can do Birmingham.
I couldn't come to London because it would add on a huge mileage,
Yeah.
and it would take too long, and I've got to finish by the 23rd of September. So I'm having to take the quickest route, going through as many big towns as possible, but unfortunately that doesn't include London and the southeast, which is a shame. Maybe another year.
I suppose though that your chances of getting people to stop and talk with you in the southeast are far slimmer than those elsewhere. So I suppose
Why do you say that?
well, sort of
Personal?
having lived in London now for most of my life, I really sort of sense that London Londoners and I think some Southeasterners are kind of more time conscious than their like Northern or like Western counterparts even. So
Yes, I'm sure
I mean
that's
that's just
right.
like my sense.
Yes, I mean, not everyone in the north is going to want to stop and talk to me, but I'll talk to as many people who will want to talk to me, and there'll be lots of opportunities. I mean, I've chosen a route that goes through towns rather than taking the scenic route, for example, which might be more attractive to walk on, but won't bring me into contact with as many people as I want. But you know, you're very, very welcome to join me in Birmingham. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be
We will.
great.
And I think we have a Maguire's support group in Birmingham,
I think so.
and I know quite a few people who start in Birmingham. I will let them know. And so, how can everyone come to your events, or how everyone can find out at what day and where to go, what city and time?
Okay, the best source of information is the BSA website.
Okay.
That's got all the information about the StamWalk on it. It's got the entire route. It will have details of the events that we're running in due course as they come in. We've got all the details of the Newcastle event up now. The Leeds event is almost confirmed, and we'll have the details of that on the website soon. So very shortly the Birmingham one will be there as well. So don't hesitate to go on there after you've joined the BSA. It's incidentally, it's very easy to join. It's free. All you have to do is go on the website, put your name, your email address, and your postcode in. I think that's all, and that registers you as a member. But the point about members is that unless we have the numbers to show a good representation of the stammering community, we're always going to be weaker than we need to be able to influence people and to attract funding. And so it's very, very important that people who stammer and their family and friends and speech therapists join the BSA for that reason. But a colleague of yours from the Maguire program is going to be speaking at the Newcastle event. Ian Much, do you know him?
Ian Much?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
he's a big friend, of course. Ian Much is the best.
So yes, so he's coming along to the Newcastle one, and he'll be speaking because you know, I'm very keen that people who stammer should be exposed to all the options that are available for them, of which Maguire is one. I've never had experience of a Maguire session myself, but you know, obviously I come across people who are very enthusiastic about it. I've come across people who are not so enthusiastic about it, but I think that mirrors any form of therapy. You know, there's some therapies suit people, others but not others.
Right. Well, you are very welcome at Maguire. That is for sure. And we kind of representing in a way of some percentage of some result what it can be done, and I love Maguire. I think the more the better. And come and see what we do. Yeah.
I'd really like to do that. I know someone invited me to attend a Manchester event, but unfortunately I was committed that day and couldn't go. But I will definitely try and come and see one. I'd be very interested to see it. So after the walk, let's have a look at the diary to see where the events are.
Right, good.
Last question. Go for it. About image.
I don't.
You know it. Ask it.
Yeah. One of the questions I have is: do you think that stammering is, I think, fairly represented in the media, in a way of like exposure or how it's viewed by the public? And
I think that it's probably not fairly represented because we don't see any people who stammer in the soaps, for example, do we?
no.
I can't think of anyone who stammers in one of the popular soap programs, and so I think it would be nice, for example, and we have suggested this. It would be nice to get someone who stammers to present one of the bigger programs, or perhaps even read the news occasionally, because it would show recognition of people that stammer, of which there is a significant but significant minority in the country. But yeah, it is underrepresented, and that's going to take quite a bit of work to change that. I think that some of the people who stammer who have been featured in films or in programs have generally been a figure of fun, which is a shame. Having said that, I don't think people who stammer should take themselves too seriously. I think many people who stammer do, and they immediately take offence at certain things, but which is understandable. But I don't think there's malicious behaviour behind the programs. I think it's just a lack of understanding of what stammering is, and that's partly, of course, why we're so keen on talking about stammering in the BSA. And there's a real onus on people who stammer. It's a two-way thing, this. It's not just society that has to understand us. We have to go out there and tell them about it. If we don't, then inevitably we're going to be made fun of, because people have no idea what it's about. And so it's no good us just sitting back and complaining. We have to go out there as well, and it's definitely a two-way thing.
Yeah, awareness is a big deal. And Tom, are you there?
I'm still here. I'm just.
Awareness is.
It is I sort of, for the viewers aren't aware, I am suffering from a bit of lag, and not the jet lag kind lag, the sound. But a question I was hoping to ask Tim was, in what circumstances would you say that your speech has been particularly bad? Because we all have our unique sort of circumstances in which our speech is bad. So what situations would you say trigger your stammer the most?
Well, definitely when I was younger, when I was a really good stammerer. I mean, the worst possible ones would be presentations. At university, I was hopeless because I'd always avoid doing presentations and going to tutorials. You'd never get away with that now, by the way, but in my day, if I never went to a single tutorial. Why they didn't chase me up, I don't know. Maybe they felt that because I stammered, they weren't going to force it on me. But those situations, presentations, talking in a group, major problems, and I avoided them at all costs. And that is a wasted opportunity. And as soon as I faced the fear and just did it, knowing that it was difficult, that was a moment of freedom. And I think that that's really worth bearing in mind. That doesn't, you might stammer like hell and find it jolly difficult. And it's not easy. It's not pleasant. But getting through that big hurdle every time you do it is a major advance. So yeah, I think the phone presentations, sometimes social situations were very difficult. All your mates are keen. Very good at conversations, aren't they? And very quick repartee. Trying to get into a conversation when you stammer, it's very difficult, and you get left behind. And so people assume that you're slightly thick or a bit nervous or shy or antisocial, but of course that's not the case at all. It's just that. So social situations I try and avoid as well, which is not good news. But so I'm sure it's the same for a lot of us.
We have this idea to go around and I've nicknamed it the thing is it's the 5 minutes. Yeah, the 5 minutes of stammering, which is like a very short personal story about one of your recent experiences with stammering,
Recent
which was
or not?
just
I mean,
it's
something like hardcore.
an awkward experience which you'd rather not repeat, but
Yeah,
which is probably entertaining in retrospect when you look back at it.
And we all do that. We can even someone can start maybe.
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You can start and
yeah.
go for it. Because, so we call it 5 minutes of stammering.
Yep.
2 minutes per story. Go.
Well,
Yeah.
probably less than 2 minutes this one, because basically I was ordering brunch I think a few weekends ago, and it was meant to be pancakes with bacon and banana, so and ordering a latte as well. I got through I said, can I have the bacon and banana pan, and then I for some reason couldn't say the cake bit, so I swore. I had to apologise to both my girlfriend and the waitress, and then had to start again trying to re-say the word pancake. So
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Tom?
My worst experience recently would probably come in an instance when well, I think it's actually quite a regular thing now, is that one of my favourite beverages is a pint of Guinness, and I've always struggled on the sounds, on the hard G sounds. And I went into a pub after quite a long shift at work, and I was dying to quench my thirst with a pint of Guinness, and went up, stammered to use Eugene's term, like a boss, on the G sound, and then eventually I was like, oh, um, I'll have your finest stout, because obviously that's like a substitute for
Yes,
Guinness, and
good substitute.
and this man was like, oh well, we have these bottled stouts, and I was like, no, your finest stout, as if to say, these stouts that you're offering me aren't your finest. It's the kind of that I want. He still didn't get it, so I just had, I was forced into the finger pointing, which is, I suppose, every stammer's nightmare. It's like, you're effectively rendered mute by finger pointing. Anyway, that was a particularly uncomfortable, but I suppose it kind of made a good anecdote, so...
Well, the bar has always been the most difficult place for people who stammer. I mean, I spent my entire teenage and early 20s drinking half a lager rather than a pint of bitter, because I could never say P's or B's. And although I'm a confirmed real ale drinker, and would only enjoy a pint of good real ale, I was stuck with half a lager for quite a lot of my life, even though I can't stand the stuff. That is a wasted 20 years of my life when I could have had many good pints of beer.
Alex?
I'll go next. Well, I don't have anything lately. It's not easy to embarrass me anymore because of my speech. No, but the only thing that comes to my mind is my wedding video. On my wedding, I mean, I started badly. And people were talking for me. Oh, that was embarrassing. Yeah, I don't like my wedding video. I think maybe I went halfway, like over how many years now? Yeah. It's my embarrassing story.
What did you stammer during your groom's speech or during the vows and things?
I started on everything. I mean, I was at the moment of my life when I was probably the worst. Then later it got even worse, but yeah, and then I got helped. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't deal with my stutter on my own. I had no idea how, even though I went to tens of therapies, like 30. Like, I've seen everything. I lost faith, but then I regained it. Yeah, this is my story.
I mean that there can be no more stressful day than a wedding day.
Still, I
that's
can't watch this video. Yeah. Okay,
No.
Tim, your turn.
He's
Already did. Yeah.
yeah.
Human with it. Yes. I mean, I'll be glad to keep pushing the conversation, that keep it going. I'll do anything for it.
I do have another question somewhere. We'll also go loads more stories about awkward ordering drinks.
We were talking about awareness a couple of days ago, and we want to bring awareness, but what we are bringing awareness to, we need a new image of a person who started, and we already I mentioned it like earlier, and we need our stuttering superhero. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
I'll tell everyone I know about Stuttering, and I always do. And I'll keep looking for our hero, and I'll find him. Yeah, or her.
That's good.
Yeah.
I need to leave you quite soon, guys. So
Okay.
Tom, are you there?
uh,
Yeah.
I'm still here. Can you hear
I
me?
think,
yeah,
Tim, we already overstated your what's the English words? You say it right.
Outstayed our well.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure talking with you, Tim.
great. It's great talking to you, and I hope your podcasts go from strength to strength and more people watch them.
Thank you.
I think it's a good
As you
good
can
medium.
As you can probably tell, Tim, we're still in our early days with the podcast.
Obviously.
But we'd love to further our interview, perhaps on a walk, which we can post at a later date. But again, just to echo the others' remarks, thank you ever so much for taking your time to speak with us, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
It's a pleasure, and I think what I like about you guys is that you've gone out and done it. You know, you haven't just talked about it. You're doing it, which is great. And the more we do that, the better. Okay,
thank you
I'll
very much.
I'll see you guys again soon.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you.
Finding Voices podcast. Alex was here.
Eugene was here.
Tom.
And Tom Wheeler.
Tim.
The slightly lagged Tom Wheeler.
Okay, see you again soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Don't just go.